Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. Today we want to discuss how do I down-regulate. So we talk about how when we start a rehab program, a mobility program, something where I'm trying to change the state of my body, where we encourage healing, strengthening, and development as much as possible so that we can stop being stuck in these stagnant states of chronic pain, of chronic anxiety, and chronic stress, and move forward towards greater performance, right? That's what it's all about. It's all about increasing your performance for whatever it is that you're doing. And we want to cover some fundamental ideas that kind of pervade into any sport, any issue that you're dealing with, any injury that we're dealing with. How do I capitalize on my body's natural ability to heal? Because obviously there are lifestyle factors, major lifestyle factors that massively impede your body's ability to heal. Not only impede it, not only obstruct it, but also sometimes even reverse it, meaning that the lifestyle factors are creating the inflammation, they're creating damage. So it's not so much that you're being kept from healing, but rather it's constantly keeping you damaged. Kind of the same thing. So how do I down-regulate? When I start off a mobility practice, a mobility routine, a rehab routine for whatever injury, etc. that we're dealing with, we always want to start off by intentionally down-regulating. What does that mean? It means going parasympathetic. What does that mean? It means making your central nervous system as relaxed as is reasonable and feasible for that activity. For example, you don't want to be passed out. That would be excessively relaxed. You don't want to faint during this, although that can potentially happen during certain drills, which is kind of a cool thing. Anyways, I want to just make sure that my body is not overly stressed out, right? If you have adrenaline and cortisol pumping up at max levels, you do not change, you do not adapt, you do not heal during that state. So if that's your everyday life, we really have to capitalize on this first in order to get really anything out of the rehab process. But regardless, we want to start off usually just 5 minutes or so practicing something that's going to allow our body to relax. And we don't want to just be thinking about this during that specific mobility routine, although we will specifically cover that in small part, as in like 1 or 2 things out of this list. There'll be more than 1 or 2 things, but rather so I talk a lot about kind of like axiomatically that ideally, because I am an idealist, we want our exercise to be our stressor. Your exercise program, your exercise for that day, that is your stressor for that day. The rest of the day is spent being down-regulated, being relaxed, so that the rest of your day is spent healing from that exercise. That's ideal. So we not only want to be looking just at the specific rehab practice, that 30-minute routine that you're going through to really get your body healing as well as possible, but also we want the rest of the day to have these fundamental aspects in place where you're just kind of constantly healing and adapting for the good, all right? So the number one most important thing, and this is more talking about like daily life, as much as is reasonable, as much as is feasible, we need to be getting in as much sunlight as possible, all right? This is one of the most significant, most major, most substantial things that pretty much everyone in the modern day life is obstructed with, that they're not getting enough natural sunlight, they're getting way too much of their light artificially. And we are designed and developed to absorb natural sunlight that's only filtered through the atmosphere, not through a lot of glass, and not exclusively coming from screens, especially not at night. So sunlight, we want this as much as possible, but ideally, guys, is that we want sunrise and we want sunset light. You also want light during the day. So the ultraviolet light that comes in through the day, this is going to be a little bit more infrared. You're getting that red shifted light, and you literally want like the red light. When the sun's going down in the sky, the clouds start to get that reddish hue, that pinkish hue. You want that in your eyeballs. You want that on your skin, and it helps your body to drastically improve its ability to heal. Your mitochondria function a hell of a lot better, and it kind of signals them to heal your body. Whereas UV light is actually largely used to proliferate mitosis, cell reproduction. So you actually grow a lot more in UV light, you heal a lot more in infrared light. It's really cool. It also massively helps with circadian rhythm, so getting your sleep and your wake cycles balanced out. Because what's another factor that we really want to capitalize on? We'll talk a lot more about sunlight later on, but the big thing is how this impacts some of the other bits. We need to be getting our sleep under control. because we all understand intuitively, if you're not getting your sleep under control, your body, your life is stressed, period. It's kind of like if your sunlight exposure is just so incredibly flawed, everything else is going to be messed up. At the same time, if your sleep is messed up, everything else is going to be messed up even more, right? So this isn't necessarily in order, but this is in a very important order of importance. So sunlight, you need your sleep to be getting range. How much sleep do you need? As much as you need. The more inflammation and shit in your life that you're dealing with, you're going to need a bit more sleep to really rinse out your brain and get your body refreshed. If you don't have a lifestyle of like chronic inflammation, so for example, I have a child that's 1.5 years old. She's going through a lot of teething and has been for months. The entire year of 2024 was like anywhere between 2 and 5 wake-ups a night. My sleep's been messed up. My stress levels have been messed up. I'm doing everything else as best I can to help. Because dear God, this lack of sleep sucks. If it was the opposite though, with everything else that we talk about with like optimizing your healing, your rehab, you don't really need as much sleep. And I usually feel like ideally, so before baby, I was pretty much good on like 7 hours or slightly less. Some people, or maybe, I don't know what this is like anymore, but maybe if things were suddenly to go great for sleep, I'd probably need like 9 hours, maybe even a bit more to start to really balance out and to get caught up and decrease the excess inflammation brought about by the really crappy sleep. Lack of sleep is terrible. Lack of sunlight is terrible. And people think that sunlight is evil. Sunlight is not evil. The people that tell you sunlight is evil are evil. Sunlight doesn't cause cancer. Hence why skin cancer rates drastically diminish as you get closer and closer to the equator. Who has the greatest incidences of skin cancer rates? Northerners. Number 3. What else? So this is going to get more into what can you do actually at the start of a specific rehab program. This is a non-exhaustive list. There's lots of things that we can do, but this is some really easy stuff that people can get a handle on pretty much right away. We'll talk about other things later. Breathwork routine. Everybody needs a breathwork routine. Why? Because in order to capitalize on the effects of sunlight, your cells, your body needs to be saturated with oxygen. Even if you're getting quite a bit of sunlight, if you are hypoxic, meaning your blood oxygen levels are chronically too low, you can't really take as much advantage. Still way better than nothing, but you cannot take anywhere near as much advantage over what sunlight does for your genes and for your cells. So breathwork routine, the biggest thing is that you need to be breathing down to your belly, and you need to be breathing 100% nasally as close to 100% of the time as possible. The only time your mouth opens is when you're talking, which maybe you should do slightly less of. If that was offensive, then definitely you should do less of. And when you are exercising, when you get to the point of, crap, if I keep my mouth shut, I feel like I'm going to suffocate. And we will have some specific breathwork routines on this channel talking about how, and going through the drills for, how do I enhance my ability to breathe? How do I really reset my metabolism and get my body as oxygenated as possible, which will make you a better athlete, and that's a win. So have a breathwork routine. What I typically recommend to like clients and such is, I don't really give a whole lot of work here specifically. I'm like, go to YouTube. This will give you actually a lot more benefit unless we have a solid like couple of hours to really grind through this stuff. And there are some fundamental, like foundational aspects to the breath work, but go to YouTube, type in breath work for relaxation. You will find pretty much like 2 billion videos talking about different routines, different styles of it. Have a sense of play and just kind of work through some different things. So go through this, make a YouTube playlist, go through this stuff, just 5-minute routines before your rehab process. See what makes you feel the best, see what makes you feel like, hey, this mobility work is having a little bit more of an effect on me. And therefore I'm having more of a performance increase. So the breath work is working better. If you do a breath work routine and you maybe feel a little bit anxious or fidgety, maybe it will be better down the road, but right now find something else, maybe just an idea. Kind of carrying along with this though, is that we can also have a meditation routine. A couple of different ways that we can talk about this. Number 1, we can talk about just simply sitting down or laying down. Dark room, eyes closed, no distractions, no potential for distractions as much as is reasonable and is feasible. But sit down and just like empty yourself out. Don't worry about controlling any thoughts or anything. You're not necessarily trying to just go blank-minded. Thoughts are going to show up. Don't have any attachment to them. Just let them drift through like the weather. And just try your best to relax your body, especially if you're sat upright. Try to have good stacked posture so that you're not slouching, getting all overstretched. You can do the same thing though as with the breath work. Just go to YouTube and type in meditation routine to relax. You'll find some guided practices. And kind of carrying along with that, meditation doesn't have to be still. It can be moving. And what we can do is something like a nice nature and sun walk. And just using that as a time to breathe and get some sun, which will help with our sleep, to meditate. And just kind of going through, not necessarily focused on anything specific, or maybe focused on something very specific, different ways of doing this. We can also do this barefoot. If reasonable and feasible to do this barefoot so that you can get a grounding effect, which is also number 6, grounding. Get your feet, your naked feet, out in nature, out in the grass, not on concrete, and also not in sand, but if you're at the beach, get them in the water, because that's very conductive as well. The grass is conductive, and this will massively help to decrease your blood pressure and decrease the viscosity in your blood, which is what decreases your blood pressure. Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm going to go through. Those are the main points that I focus. There's loads of other things that you can do to downregulate, but these are usually the most accessible, kind of simplest, easiest thing to do. Let's quickly go through, though. Again, I kind of recommend about 5 minutes to start off a routine. So nature walk, go outside for 5 minutes barefoot in the grass in a place that, it's safe to do so. Maybe not where things are sketchy, you know what I mean, in the city. But yeah, does that make sense? Any questions about any of this or anything that you would add? Let me know below. Something I would add as well. We will add this. Number 7, magnesium sulfate, also known as Epsom salt. Go take an Epsom salt bath. I just remembered that. I did not have that in my notes earlier. But yeah, take some time in that as well. That will help your body to relax massively. All right, take care, guys. If you suffer with chronic pain, chronic injuries, athletic injuries, I have got you covered. My name is Ethan Hammond, and I am a strength and rehab specialist. I work with people who want to return to sport and fitness, but feel that they can't because of pain and injuries. I've helped people with conditions such as lower back pain, ACL tears, shin splints, neck pain and chronic headaches, and so many more things. Now, a lot of you will be going through things like this, like what I just listed above, and you're saying that you cannot train anymore. Bullshit. You have got to train, and you've got to train right. Train or complain, that is the way this works. Now, I work in person in Southampton, England, but I have online services as well if you're a bit further out. And I also offer free consultations to get you started with a free game plan and strategy for getting out of pain. All you have to do is to send me a text or a WhatsApp message to 07 305 231 339, and I will personally get back to you in the next 24 hours to get you started on the road to proper recovery. If you are serious about leveling up and making real change, this is how you start.